Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna Coles, and this morning we're visiting with Kristin Hildabrand, Warren County Extension Agent for Horticulture. Good morning, Kristin.
Good morning, Joanna.
Now, Kristin, a lot of times in the winter, we're not thinking about gardening or caring for our plants, but it's probably the wrong move, especially when it comes to trees.
Yes, I think that a lot of people just fall short in the winter time because we probably think, especially with our newly planted trees, that it's more important to water those trees like during the growing season. But what you do now in the wintertime can really make a difference whenever we go through a drought like we did this past season in the summertime, when it's really tough on those plants, especially if they're newly planted. And so I wanted to take a few minutes this morning and talk about some winter tree care, because we know with the tornado damage there's been a lot of trees being planted in the garden, in the landscape, and there's some things that you can do to help improve the success of those trees as well. So one of the things I wanted to talk about first, Joanna, is about two things that we experience in the landscape since I've been an agent. We see a lot of damage to thinly barked trees, especially with sunscald injury. And to kind of talk about that just real quickly, sunscald injury is what we have with thinly barked trees. It can even occur on some fruit trees as well, like your apples and pears, cherries, things of that nature. But what happens is on the southwest side, there is more sunlight on that side. So if you've just installed it in the landscape, what happens is there's a lot of temperature fluctuations in the wintertime. So on that southwest side, usually what happens is that that side warms up, because on the west side of your house or on the tree, it's going to get a lot warmer than it is on any other side. So what happens is when that sunlight hits it, especially if you have any snow on the ground, it's going to reflect and kind of activate those cambium layers in the tree. And then what happens is that whenever that sun goes back down and the temperature goes really cold in the winter, then it's going to basically cause that cracking or that sunscald injury on that southwest side. So one of the things that homeowners can do, especially for a new leaf tree or a thinly barked tree like maples, and we have a lot of maples that a lot of people install, is that you can go ahead and wrap your tree in tree wrap. So there's a couple of different products that are out on the market. There's a white reflective tree wrap that you can use, or there's one that's kind of brown. It's got a craft paper type look to it. It's also got tar on the inside of it as well. So what happens is as you're wrapping the tree of those thinly barked trees, it kind of adheres to it. So if you're using that, Joanna, you would only want to install it basically after a good hard freeze. So for us here in Kentucky, that would generally occur after Thanksgiving. And then you want to remove that tree bark. It's crucial to remove that tree wrap, off the bark in basically the spring. So basically you go from Thanksgiving till about Tax Day, and then you would want to remove it at that point. But the thing that the tree wrap does, it doesn't keep it warm. What happens is that it keeps it from cracking on that side. So it's kind of like a protectant. And then two, we have a lot of rodent damage, like voles and other things like that, that can kind of do gnawing and things like that, and it can girdle your tree. So the tree wrap kind of serves as two purposes. It helps with the sunscald damage as well as keeping other rodents from chewing on the bark.
Now, Kristin, is it only a benefit to our newly installed trees or our thin bark trees, and there's no need or no benefit for this for mature trees?
Yes, so that's a great question. Once that bark hardens up, you don't necessarily have to use it. So it's mainly going to be of a benefit as it's younger in life. So I would say probably at least the first 2 seasons, and if you notice that it's still not hardened up really well, because it could be environmental issues, then you could go another season. Whenever you're starting it at the bottom, you want to keep overlapping so it keeps it intact. And then whenever you get up to the first branch of that tree, go ahead and use some tape and then secure it around that. And again, just making sure you remove it in the spring. One of the things that I also wanted to talk about is mulching. So a lot of times in the wintertime, because we go from, kind of warm to kind of cold back in the nighttime, the same temperature fluctuations, a lot of times there could be heaving in and out of that particular tree. So if you've got any moisture around that plant, the newly planted trees, then it can heave in and out of the ground. So it's really important to make sure that you use some winter mulch. So it's not just good for the summer or the spring, you can also use it in the wintertime as well.
All right, Kristin, we'll certainly appreciate these tips. And if you have questions, make sure to contact your local extension office. Thanks for watching and have a great day.